Blair. Great to be doing this interview with you. For folks who don't know this, on Rudy Blair Entertainment Media, RudyBlairMedia.com, you and I finally got to meet in person as we speak yesterday at Warner Music Canada at an event, a showcase that was going on. Great to have a chance to meet you, but we were supposed to meet even earlier, I realized, because you were on a boat cruise I was supposed to be on and could not in the last minute make it. I got to ask you, how was that boat cruise for you? You know what I'm talking about.
Oh my goodness, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me in the first place. But the boat cruise was fantastic. Oh my goodness, that feels like quite some time ago now, but it was in warmer weather. We do not have that warm weather now, so I'm missing it. It was great though.
And what about the showcase yesterday? What'd you think?
The showcase, it was so nice. That was my first time at the Warner headquarters, so such a cool space. Havlin did such a great job. So excited for him as well.
Same here, but this is supposed to be all about you because we've got new music that we're supposed to talk about, and we're going to talk a little bit about your career.
Mhm.
And let's go into that. Originally, where you're from, where are you from? And the love of music, where did that all kick off for you?
Totally. So I'm from not too far outside of Toronto. I grew up in Thornhill, which is pretty much just a little bit north of Finch Station. And love of music for me, as far back as I can remember, as a child, I was seeing the Spice Girls or Madonna on TV. My mom, she's such a talented piano player, so the house was always filled with either piano music or she would sing as well. She was also an artist when she was younger, and so it was always very present. It took me a little while to kind of find my place in music. I entered through acting and got into kind of like the visual storytelling part of it first, but eventually when I found my voice, it was something that had always just been there but eventually needed to come to the surface. And I'm very glad that it did that in around 2019. I released my first song, and it's been so great ever since.
Okay, you're talking about releasing your first song in 2019. If I remember correctly, 2019, a thing called COVID was going on. How did
Mhm.
that affect you releasing your first song?
Honestly, so my goodness, that was such a hard time for so many people, but for me and my music career, it was kind of a really nice situation almost because I released my first two songs in October of 2019. So before the lockdown or COVID kind of was a big thing on everyone's mind. And I was really nervous. I was really insecure with my voice at that point in time. And so having all of a sudden me releasing my songs and then the world kind of going into lockdown and having to stay at home and to really focus on the craft and develop it, that's where I found my confidence when I was like, I can do this. I can do this really well. And I've had so much time to have to be away from people and to figure out who I was. And so for me, it was almost like it was a really nice time to be able to reflect and isolate and really dive into the world of NYRE and figure out who I am as an artist. But it was hard on hard on the social aspect for sure and for everyone else.
Let's talk about that style of music because from what I've read, what is right there behind you kind of is, I think, a reflection of your music because I've never heard of this term dark pop before. Can you explain that and how it works for you?
Totally. So dark pop to me is the sound of Toronto. It's the cold winter winds and synth melodies. It's the intimidating but alluring like nightlife in the beats and the feeling and the bass. To me, it's the parts of pop that are so catchy, but sometimes maybe a little bit too heavy for mass consumption. It's very real. It's very personal. It sits with discomfort, whereas other times we may want to live more in the happy space. But it's very introspective and it can be a little mysterious, it can be a little dark, but it can also be very uplifting.
How did you know there was an audience out there, or did you know? But once you started putting your music out there, that audience migrated to it.
I found this kind of like audience in this space when I heard Halsey's Badlands album in around 2015. That was like it spoke to how I felt and how I saw the world, how I experienced things, and I was like, like if this can do so well, this project absolutely go global. There is a space and for me to speak how I want to speak and talk about the things that I want to talk about in my music. And so that's where I found it.
Let's talk about the evolution of dark pop, but lyrically though. When did you start really developing the stories in your music?
Absolutely. So I feel like it goes back to a lot of my childhood experiences. I feel like a lot of the times I didn't really get how to fit in with the popular kids. I wasn't invited to parties a lot of the time, so I felt very isolated and I really wanted to fit in. I wanted to make people smile. I wanted to entertain people, but I didn't know how to go about doing that. And so I felt kind of like almost like an outsider for so long and always peering in and always wanting to do such an amazing job to be able to fit in, but I never kind of got there. And so those feelings and that isolation and that feeling of otherness led me to the stories originally, and then it was eventually when I found who I thought was my person that I felt a reflection in that made me kind of feel that I had someone that I fit in with. Losing that was another huge push to be able to talk about those kind of pain and emotions and that darkness.
Just curious though, those people who didn't think you should fit in, how do they feel when not only you releasing great music, but getting to walk the catwalk? I saw some modeling going on there too.
Yes, yeah. No, so I did that for a friend's runway a few weeks ago. But how those people now how they feel, I've gotten a few messages from people that wouldn't even look at me in the hallway in high school. And so it's kind of like a nice little like, okay, like I knew I always had it in me, almost like a little I told you so moment, but I'm going to protect myself and keep good people around me that have supported me and will support me no matter what kind of space or level I'm at.
Let's I don't want to go off topic, but I think this is really important because you're not the only person who had who's gone this. Fifi Dobson, I remember when I first spoke to her decades ago, and she kind of talked about the same thing. And there are so many artists, especially women in this business, who have gone through that stage of, in school and, don't want to talk to you or whatever. And then suddenly those people are contacting you or playing like they're your best buddies or, hey, remember we used to hang out in class and whatever else. And you're just like, you used
Did
to
not hang
spit
out.
on me. Like, what
Yep.
advice can you give somebody who is probably going through that right now?
Oh my
And,
goodness.
being able to show that if you hang on, good things are going to come about.
My goodness, for me it was I got to a point where I was looking at myself in a mirror. Like I remember this moment like so perfectly and it was literally looking at myself and it's like if I never go for my dreams, if I never pursue this because I'm afraid of what these people that I don't even want to be friends with think of me, I would hate myself so much more for that regret of never giving myself a chance rather than going for it and maybe failing, maybe embarrassing myself, but at least I tried. And that's really cool because I don't think a lot of these people that would put me down in the past, it was out of insecurity and it was out of fear of going after their dreams. And for them, it was easier to hold someone back from their dreams rather than supporting it and also going for their dreams. And so yeah, I mean it's so tough. It's so tough and it took me so long to build the confidence and fake the confidence for long enough that eventually I realized, wait, I've been doing the thing this whole time. And I'm kind of good at it too. Even on my worst day, I can do a good job. And so it's you have one life that you have to live and you get to live. You're going to spend that time somehow, you might as well spend it doing something that you love.
How important is fashion for you? Because of course, last night you were looking fantastic.
Thank
But
you.
again, going on your Instagram, I'm looking at the stuff. I'm going, you truly are representing your music,
Thank
even
you.
with the look too.
Thank you so much. Fashion, I love fashion. Like what I care so much about with my music is the storytelling. It's the connection, the emotion, what two humans would be able to relate over like in at the base and the foundation of it. And so for me, however I'm able to dive in to the music, to the creative world, whether it's through the visuals, from the colors to the outfits, the makeup, the hair, everything about for me is about expanding the world around my music and I love living in it. It's my escapism essentially. Um and it's just so fun. It's so fun. I love bright colors. I love being different and standing out because why not? It's fun.
Then let's get to what we definitely need to talk about is the new EP. What is the name of the new EP and how does it represent to you at this point in your career?
Absolutely. So the name of the EP is Avoidant, and this really speaks to a big chunk of my life. I feel from like the 2019, kind of like 2023 era. That was after one of like the relationship that I thought was the one. The it was everything that happened was never a possibility of something that could have happened between me and this person, but it did. And so for a long time it was not being able to admit that maybe he didn't love me in the way he said he did, and that wouldn't be a bad reflection on me. That wasn't something for me to take blame for. And so this EP, it really is kind of like a walk through the stages of acceptance, going from the denial and being like, no, like it should be you feeling all these negative things because you're the one who did me wrong, to then being, I really did fall in love, and maybe he didn't mean all these things, and then going to the, yeah, like he didn't mean it, like okay, like I can move on, I can leave this behind, I have so much ahead of me. And then finally getting to main character with this, which is the last song on the EP, and it's trying to just discover a new identity but not fully healing in a real way. It's almost running from a lot of emotions, trying to escape the pain rather than working through it. And so it speaks to some of the ways that I've tried to heal. It speaks to some of the ways that other people have treated me. And I hope anyone that is able to kind of relate to that feeling of having to run from themselves and their emotions will be able to rock with it.
Just curious, the new single out right now, what is that?
That one is Jokes on Me.
What is that one about?
So that one, that is song number 2 off of the EP. That is our focus track right now, and that is my favorite song I've ever written. It is so vulnerable. I'm almost never able to sing it without crying at some point because it is my heart in a song on complete display. That song is about falling so head over heels into a love that you thought was so perfectly reflected back and was so true and honest and committed, and everything that this person was telling to you was real, and no problem could ever break you apart. But then all of a sudden these problems are happening, and you're thinking they're very isolated small events, but then eventually you find yourself falling into tragedy and it's too late to save anything, and you're head over heels. You're all in, realizing this person wasn't exactly all in with you, and it's very helpless feeling.
I'm curious, if you ever had the opportunity, would you love to write and star in a, and I'll call it this, a dark pop opera?
That sounds
Because
so cool.
it just sounds like, I mean, me, I'm 100 times older than you. I grew up in watching rock operas like Tommy and Fan of a Paradise and things like that. It's probably, but you sound like you're ready to write something like this, where it's like almost like a Romeo and Juliet kind of thing, or something like that. Like, is that in your head somewhere?
I would absolutely love that. That sounds so fun, and like all that imagery and whatnot. You make me think of all that like Alice Cooper concerts that I've been to with my.
Yeah.
He's so theatrical, and I love that. Like it's, you are in a different world. You're not just watching someone perform on stage. You are in another world, and I'm obsessed with that.
That's what I'm thinking, that somewhere along the line you're going to create something
Yeah,
like
I would love
that.
to.
In the meantime, shows, what are we looking at for 2025? I know it's the beginning of the year, still a little cold as we speak, but what are we looking at?
Indeed. So we're doing a bunch of the festival applications right now. Maybe hopefully trying to set some things up around the Junos. I've never been to Vancouver before, so this will be my first time going to Vancouver. I'm looking forward to that for the Junos. And yeah, hopefully when the weather gets warmer, I would love to do some outdoor performances. I've never done those before, and so hopefully I'll be able to get some sun.
Fantastic. I'm trying to get myself ready. I'm probably going to end up going to the Junos. I
Nice.
haven't never really missed it in a couple of decades. So
There you
trying
go.
to figure that out. So hopefully we'll be seeing each other down there too. Look, as we wrap this up, again, what advice do you want to give to artists who are out there trying to plug away and hopefully reach where you are right now? What do you want to say to them?
Just start and keep on doing it. It is never a good time to start, except for right now, kind of thing. You're never going to be perfect, but if you start, you're going to meet people and you're going to go to events and you're going to find yourself in new locations and learning new knowledge that's going to get you closer to whatever you think is perfect and whatever you dream of. Go for it. You're going to pass the years somehow. You might as well do it. You might as well pass it doing what you love. And I so hope that you're able to go after your dreams and attain them.
Last question. I'm just wondering, is that velvet or is that just a picture behind you?
This
Yeah.
it's not velvet, it's just like a thin kind of like flag material.
Okay, it looks like it's velvet. It looks so cool. Anyways, thank you so much for the interview. So glad we had a chance to meet yesterday. Looking forward to cross fingers, seeing each other down in Vancouver. But either way, I know we're going to keep in touch because at Tommy and people, you know what I mean. But yeah, just looking forward to everything you're doing. Congratulations.
Thank you so much for having me.